Today I thought I'd share a little video about some interior work I'm doing on my '78 Corvette. It started out as just a simple carpet replace and seat cover replacement, and ended up being a full-fledged rebuild, fixing all the electrical problems as I go along and replacing some of the instrument clusters and fixing the gauges and the lights and all that kind of thing. But like I said, it started out as just replacing the seat covers and the carpet, because that was kind of worn, but actually the rest of it's not in too bad a shape considering the age of it. I don't have any cracks in the dash. The plastic pieces, trim pieces all around are really not in too bad a condition. You see that? I didn't take any of that stuff apart, just mostly everything down here. But I've got my center console plate not actually bolted down yet, but just sitting in place. I'm waiting for some parts to finish up my instrument cluster that goes there in the middle, and I was actually able to get my AC switches and vacuum switches and vacuum hoses and all that stuff straightened out. Got a new clear lens that goes over that and bolted into the new console. That whole piece there is brand new. I went with the black. This car originally had a wood grain on this part here, the center console, and also the speedometer tachometer console or panel actually had the wood grain. And I decided to get rid of that 1970s looking wood grain and just go back with the black. You can see on the center I've already replaced that. That had the wood grain, and now it's just a black plastic. I was actually able to get my shift pattern plate off of the wood grain one and then stuck back into the new one without damaging it. It worked out pretty good. This car has the Tremac TKO 600 5-speed transmission I put in it, and they give you that plate to go over the original plate. It's got new, let's see if I can show you this little box right here. This car was equipped with a pulse wiper delay. Had a great big clunky relay that sat there. The pulse wiper never worked, and I decided what I would do is just bypass that and go back to a normal switch. And the way you can tell you have a bypass, or I'm sorry, the way you can tell you have a pulse wiper delay is that little knob with the arrow in the circle. That's how you actually adjust the delay. But I thought I'd just replace that switch and just go back with your normal switch for high and low wiper and missed. But I couldn't find one, so I got to looking at this switch, and the switch was good, so I went ahead and bought this replacement delay module. It's all solid state. Took out that big clunky relay and put that in there, and got my pulse wiper working great. So I was pretty happy with that. I put some insulation here in the middle. I actually got some insulation from Summit Racing. It's about 3/8 inch thick, and I've just been putting it in places where it can be stuck down with some adhesive and hopefully cut down some of the heat. This car is kind of a hot foot. It I guess the way the carpet and the way the insulation was deteriorated, it really gets hot on the floorboard. My dual exhaust runs pretty close to the bottom of the floor right here by the seat, so you feel a lot of heat coming up. But I got a whole insulation package cut for the car to put in, and I worked on my HVAC ductwork a little bit. As you can see a nylon zip tie there, great big nylon zip tie. I use that to pull that center duct up a little bit and hold it a little bit tighter. They kept wanting to fall down and become disconnected from the plenum and everything, so I was able to get that in there, and also ran the pipe that goes over to the vent on the driver's side there. You can see how that runs in there. I straightened it up a bit, and I just use those big ties that seem to hold it up in there pretty good. And I don't have my glove box in yet, but you can look in there, and I've worked on that switch there. Well, it's a vacuum valve actually that controls the water that flows through the heater. I've replaced that, worked on that a little bit, and all the vacuum lines are new, and actually everything functions properly. Air comes out the right holes, and the only thing I need to do is just finish working on the AC. I need to put a new compressor on it, and I need to put in a new condenser core, and the lines and the hoses and all that need to be replaced, and actually finish fixing that, I guess. The other thing I did too was I actually came in here and just straightened all my wires up. They were just such a spaghetti. They were just going everywhere, and like I said, a lot of the things didn't work, and so I disconnected all of the any connection that I could get to. I disconnected it. I sprayed some deoxit and some electrical cleaner in it, and then reconnected everything. This one hanging down here is actually the one that goes to the center console. I cleaned it up a little bit, put some deoxit on it, and I don't know if you've ever used that deoxit stuff, but it's great. That stuff works great on old stereo equipment and anything that has a potentiometer for volume control. And if it's sounding a little, getting some noise in your controls and things when you turn them up and down, that stuff will clean it right out. And so I've managed to get everything to work pretty well electrically. I've even been in the column. The turn signal switch was kind of screwed up, so I replaced the turn signal switch, actually put a new hazard button on there. The steering wheel is off of it right now. It makes other things easy to work on with it gone, but it's actually in California right now. I'm trying to get it relaced up because the everything on the wheel was pretty well deteriorated. I've got a new defrost vent on order. This one here won't really stay in very well anymore. It just kind of sits up there. It's not broken, but it's just warped in such a way that it won't actually snap down. I've got my front speakers pre-wired. You can see I've got some 16 gauge speaker wire, I think it is. It's going to run up here to 2 new speakers. I think I'm going to probably use Kenwood speakers on the front and the back. In fact, I'm going with a complete Kenwood stereo system. I'm using a head unit that's Kenwood, and I'm using an amplifier that's going to be Kenwood as well. Now let's take a look over here on this side here. You can see. And you take a look at how I've straightened those wires up a little bit and got them running a little bit straighter. They were just hanging down all over the place. They were such a mess. It's amazing how they built these old cars like that. Definitely, quality wasn't of any importance. As far as my amplifier, I'm going to have an amplifier in the back, and I'm going to drive that with the RCA. Connectors here, or cables you see here, that's going to go to the back of the head unit. That's going to go to the rear of the car, where I'm going to have a small Kenwood amplifier. I think it's something like 40 or 50 watts a channel. I've done some things to try to keep noise out of the radio or the stereo, and what I did, you can see how neatly I did the wiring. I've got this relay here that the coil is going to be fed by the ignition switch. So when the ignition switch is on, it'll actually turn on a feed that comes directly from the battery. The ground also comes directly from the battery and runs up to the head unit. And then in the back, you can see there on the battery, I have a battery cutoff switch, and then I also have about 3 fuse holders and 3 feeds. That's going to go to the amplifier and the stereo head unit. And by coming directly off the battery, I'm hoping to maybe eliminate any kind of ignition noise or alternator noise, hopefully. Most every stereo I've ever put in my life always had some sort of noise afterwards. And you can see I have one piece of new insulation back here in the back. And you can see in each corner I have the speaker wires that are coming actually from where the amplifier is going to be, which is right here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the carpet in place, cut some little holes in the carpet so those wires will come through, and mount my amplifier right there on top of the carpet. So it shouldn't look too bad. Originally, I was going to put my amplifier down in this compartment here. This is where the jack is stored and the tire iron. There's an area, I don't know if you can see it that well, but there's an area right up underneath that I thought I was going to be able to put the amplifier. And when I actually got it, it wouldn't fit, and so then I had to think of another way to do it, and I decided I'd go ahead and just put it right back here in the back. I'm using the insulation here over the wheels that was already in the car. It's some pretty thick looking stuff, and I think it's should be pretty decent insulation to cut down some of the noise and the heat. So that's about it for in here. I'm going to go outside the car and show you another thing. Might as well show you the door. Those inside panels are really in pretty good shape, but I bought new ones only because the carpet didn't seem like it wanted to match my new carpet that I got. So that carpet there on the bottom just faded a little bit, and I don't think it was going to match the new carpet, so I'm going to go ahead and replace the interior door panels. So it is pretty amazing, the year of this car and what kind of shape the dashboard and things. There's no cracks or anything. I think the guy that had it before me probably kept it garaged, or at least kept it where the sun wasn't baking down on it. So let's go outside here and let me show you something. This is my original gauge panel, bezel, whatever you want to call it. You see that wood grain, and I was a little tired of that, and I wanted to change this anyway to go to the DIN style radio and get rid of that big monster 1978 AM FM stereo. So I've got a black one that's going to match all the other parts that I bought for the car, so I won't be using this again. And then also for the speakers in the back, I want to put 6x9 speakers in the back, and I found these from Corvette Central for the C3 Corvette. Unfortunately, I couldn't find ones that actually matched the carpet color, but they come in black. I think it's the only color they come in, but you can see they're just a wooden particle board type of enclosure. Here's probably the most amazing part of anything that you've ever seen in your life, made in USA. How often do you see that anymore? But I got these from Corvette Central. I think I paid about 60 bucks for them or something. But that'll take a 6x9 speaker, and that will go back in the corner. I believe it probably goes, this one here probably goes on the left hand side. Sits at an angle like that, and goes back in the corner of the car. I'll probably put some insulation back in the corner back there, and then hook the wire to the speaker and put the speaker in. So those are pretty neat, I thought, because these cars didn't originally come with 6x9 speakers. I think maybe we'll walk over to the other side, take a look at the driver's side rather. You can see that interior door panel's not too bad either. No cracks or tears or anything. It's actually not bad at all. You get a better look at my wiring here, where I've taken some of the wires and just straightened them up. This is the connector to the new pulse wiper, and plugs right into the old harness. And that thing really worked out nice. It works perfect. Also put on some new pedal pads. Pedal pads are starting to show a little bit of wear. And behind this panel here, I actually went up in there. It's the same sort of spaghetti, wires going every which way. I actually got in there and cleaned all that up and put some wire ties on them, some tape, and just straightened them up. And electrically, I pretty well got this car done. It works. This piece here I'm waiting for from Corvette America. It's a lower what do they call this thing? Lower column cover or something like that. Goes right up here. Kind of covers up that hole, but it's got some brakes in it. So I got one of those on order. This valve you see here is the valve you use just to hold the lights open for you. when I wash the car, I usually turn the headlights on, they pop up. Then all you have to do is pull this down, I think it is. Yep, you just pull it down like that and then turn the headlights off, and the headlights will stay popped up for you. So when you wash the car, you can wash the headlights and all that, and it looks good when you get done. You can see my insulation I put in there. I was trying to do anything I can to kind of cut the heat down. And then I was also going to mention too, my RCA cable that's going to go from my head unit back to the amplifier runs down the left hand side of the car here, like so. Should be enough space right here in the corner, so when I put my cover back on with the lids that go onto the compartments here, should be enough room for that to pass right through there, and it comes out over here on that side of the amplifier, and then the power and the speakers come out on this side. And that's a new piece of insulation that's in there that came with my kit. And like I said before, I've got some Summit material that I can cut and use in certain places, and that's what I did here on the center. Kind of cut down some of the heat. Down here on the floor, I actually just cleaned it up real good. Had some lumpy goo that they put in here to seal it with. You can see it right here. Big old lumpy thing there. They didn't really care too much about that either. They just kind of blobbed it in there. So I knocked some of that stuff off, and I actually sprayed some Flex Seal in here just to kind of make it look a little cleaner and maybe seal up some of those small little cracks and stuff. It seemed to work out pretty good. Now I'm to a point where I could start putting the carpet in after I get all this junk here put back in. It's just that at this point I'm not real sure if I want to put the front carpet in first or the back carpet. I seen a guy did one of these on YouTube, and he seemed to think that putting in the front carpet was what you need to do first. I kind of forget exactly how this carpet overlaps with the carpet that goes in here. It's several different pieces and things, and I guess I'll just have to fiddle with it and figure it out, or go on YouTube and see if I can find somebody else that really knows what they're doing. I can watch their video and figure out how to do it. And I've got one other problem I should mention, I guess, is my tack. Previously, the tack would operate accurately, but occasionally I would get the needle whipping ever so often, like so. Did a little bit of research, and everybody seemed to think it was the circuit board on the back side of the tack. So I bought one and put that on. Sure enough, fixed it smooth as could be. Only problem now is it reads too high. So if anybody's got any ideas about that or run across that problem before, I sure would like to hear about it, because it's kind of driving me crazy at this point. I did per the instructions, it says how to zero it. You know, you pull the needle off, turn it on, and push the needle on right at 0. And it starts out right on 0. But when you fire it up and you run it, it's off about, I'd say 1,000 RPM at idle, and when you bring it up above idle, it just gets worse. So I might substitute my old board back in there and see if the accuracy will come back, and just see if I can figure out what's going on with that. It seems to be wrong whether I use the tack filter up by the distributor or whether I use it or not, so I'm not so sure about that. Packed a little insulation in that area there on both sides as well. Try to do anything I can to kind of knock down the noise. And the car's a little noisy. It has Flowmaster mufflers on it, and typically those, when you put them all the way to the rear of the car, like on Corvettes like this, it makes a lot of interior resonance. So I had some rattles and some noise inside, and I think with a little extra time spent putting some insulation, doing the carpet and everything, I think that'll knock down some of the noise. So thanks for watching my video. Hopefully next time you see a video, this car will be driving down the road with all the interior back in it. It's been about 6 months now it's been taking me to do all this. Thanks for watching.